Hello, Oracles. How is it going? Just get myself settled in here. Well, we ended up finishing relatively strong this week. Had a little bit of a dip in there, but rebounded nicely going into the weekend with the anticipation of deliveries coming out. So finished up just over 1.5% today. We'll jump into the charts in a minute. Give you guys a few minutes to get on here. And we'll dive into some numbers. And my numbers are not as specific and dialed in as they have been in the past, just because I haven't had the time. But I did jump in there and I've updated the basics of the numbers, so I'll share those with you guys tonight. Hey, Katie, happy Friday. Raymond, what's going on? Hey, Karav. And I owe a lot of this to Karav. Karav is, for those of guys who don't know, and many of you do know him, phenomenal with numbers, great dialing in on stuff. So if you guys do not follow him on Twitter, highly recommend it. Let's see here. We'll bring the charts up now. We'll take a quick look, and then I'll go into my numbers with you guys. And let me see here. All right. It's very, very muggy out today. So yeah, looking at the charts. So my thoughts for this, where we came down, and again, I thought maybe this week we would fill this 235 gap with the rebalancing. That did not happen. And I was talking to Gort about, he just added a bunch to TSLY, and I'm still saving up my cash. I'm playing it as seeing the run up going into the weekend. We've seen this before, a run up going into the weekend where we're going to be getting delivery numbers. And then the delivery numbers come out and they miss expectations and we get a sell off afterwards. So, not that I'm hoping that this is going to happen, but based upon historical data that we've seen, I'm playing that. And if that is the case, then on Monday, seeing as Monday is going to be a short trading day, we could see a bit of volatility if that ends up playing out. Might be able to get a good buying opportunity on Tesla on Monday. So for me, I would be buying TSLY heavier. And the reason I would be doing it in TSLY and not as much in TSLA is strictly because of the fact that with TSLY, you get the dividends. And I want to get those dividends. And they've got usually the 5th, and I don't know for sure, but usually the 5th is the X day. So you need to own it by the 5th, and then you get paid out those dividends on the 15th. So if that's the case, I'm going to play it that way. And that's just my strategy. Again, not financial advice, but that is what I am doing. If Tesla don't make the numbers, it's all Karav's fault. Actually, Karav is right in line with estimates. Estimates right now we're between 445 and 450. I think 448 is the official. I don't know if Tesla has. Does anybody know? Has Tesla released their official consensus? I have not seen that. But last I heard it was around 448, and Karav is at 446. I'm at 448 myself, so I'm right at consensus estimate. Last we knew. What's going on, Lang? How are things over there in Western Australia, my friend? Or are you still, you are not in Australia at the moment. You're out of the country, right? Let me see. Give it a few more minutes and I'll dive into my numbers and share with you guys what I got going on. Oh, I gotta get some water. Oh, thank you, Karav. I appreciate that. I haven't had a chance to look. For me at work, I had a huge event. The first time we've ever had an event at my branch yesterday. So I had to run that since I'm the manager there. So yesterday, that's why I didn't have a video yesterday. So sorry about that. I was just totally spent when I got home. And today was just kind of wrapping up a Friday. I've got a long 4-day weekend because I took Monday off for our 4th of July holiday in the US here. So thank you. So 446, 500. So that's right in line with Karav. I'm just above that at 448. So as I said before, holding steady with Malaysia. Awesome. Cool. So still holding steady with my notion that if we come in under 445, that would be the buying opportunity coming in on Monday. If we end up coming in above 450, I think we'll see a nice pop. Now, again, as I had mentioned before, you go into analysts and the algorithms with the computers that are doing most of the trading in the market. They have all of their valuation models set based upon delivery numbers. That's where you started. How many vehicles are you delivering, and what is the price of those vehicles? So until we get actual earnings to figure out average selling price and margins and all of that stuff, until then, the number that will change are deliveries. So if these analysts had 448,000 in their valuation model and they come in at 444,000, you've got to take 4,000 vehicles off of that, and that's immediately going to drop down the stock price in their valuation model. It's just math, straight math. That's how it works. But again, on the other side of things, if they come in at 452,000, they bump it up by 4,000, that will bring the stock price up. So, and then of course from there, then we have all the discussions about what's going to happen, what the charging, and what other sources of income do they have coming in? What do we have for margins? How's energy doing? So then we started that whole discussion about actual earnings versus just deliveries. And I know Karav had his breakdown the other day and where the vehicles are coming from. And mine again is just a very rough estimate of where they're all coming from. Because for me, I do more production than deliveries, so I go based upon production. It's easier to track production because that's as Elon speaks about, back in 2013, he predicted, how many what they're going to do for production for 2020, and they did it almost exactly because it's easier to predict that because you know how much they're going to ramp and how much they're producing and all the information we have. So deliveries are a different question because then you've got to sell the vehicles that you produce, and is the demand for them, especially now this year with pricing going up and down and interest rates and all sorts of things. So for me, I've got North America coming in at 175,000 deliveries. I've got China at 151, Europe at 95,000, and the rest of the world at 27,000. So that is my breakdown for deliveries at 448,000. Production I have at 453,000. So I do think that they're going to have more production than deliveries. But I think that's sort of the wave smoothing out a little bit more, especially with Berlin coming online. With Berlin coming online, there's obviously a lot less exports needed from China to go over there. So it just makes life a lot easier. And that will just continue as Berlin starts to ramp up or continues to ramp up. Um, sorry, just going through the comments here. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. Again, nothing big and fancy. I used to have a whole bunch of spreadsheets out here. I know there's awesome guys out there. Karab, obviously one of them. Troy Tesla, Rob Maurer, James Stevenson, Brian from My Tesla Weekend. He has great numbers also. So lots and lots of people to follow out there, and that's one of the reasons I love this community is because there's so many people who are so dialed in on what's going on. That you can get a very good sense of where it's at. So some people are higher, some people are lower. You kind of put it all together in the middle, and you're right there. And quite honestly, I think because of the fact that we have a community that is so dialed in like this, takes the analysts' work right out of it. I think many of the analysts, this is why we've seen over the last basically 3 to 4 quarters, the analysts have been right on line with the numbers because all of us are doing the work for them. And then we did see, I don't know if you guys have heard, Electrify America has joined the North American charging standard. I mean, at this point here, we might as well just call it the Tesla charging standard because it's Tesla's and everybody's doing it. So that is the standard that everybody is going with. And seeing other manufacturers, EV manufacturers coming out and doing it was big. Obviously, GM, Ford coming on board with it, that was big. But when you start to see other charging networks like Electrify America coming out, and I have no doubt ChargePoint and Blink Charging will be doing it. Actually, I think Blink already do it? I can't remember if I heard about them. But it's basically that is going to be it. That's going to be the charging. And again, we've said it before. It's just like Android and Apple between the Lightning charger and the micro USB, which actually Android might have a different one now. But between those two, it's like, do you have this? Do you have that? When it comes to EVs, you're not going to worry about it. Everybody's going to have the same charger here in the US and North America. So that's huge. And obviously Tesla leading the way with that. Let's see. What other news did we have? We talked about version 12 for FSD earlier this week. Version 12, for you guys who don't know, Elon had tweeted out stating that version 12 will be no longer beta. It will be going to straight up version 12. That's it. We come out of beta at that point. Maybe it happens by the end of the year or early 2024. I don't know, but seems to be like that is what we will be seeing coming out. I'm just going to hop on Twitter quick and see if there's any other new news that I haven't seen. And of course, Jerome Powell came out talking more the other day, which we thought might dump the markets, but it didn't. And really just reiterating, hey, rates need to stay high, sustained, and we may go up with the more, just more of it. And the market just kind of sloughed it off this time. Does Electrify America even have a level 3 charger? Raymond, my bigger question is, does Electrify America even have chargers that work, period, regardless of what level they are? That's the biggest question. Oh, Troy's at 448. He was at 443 last I knew. That's a nice little bump on Troy's end. Cool. I'm right in line with Troy. Holy cow. Let's see. Everybody's getting closer and closer these days. But yeah, Troy the last few quarters has been what a lot of people argued to be bearish, and he was actually closer than a lot of other people. So, so we're all pretty much in the same area then. But yeah, Electrify America, I don't know. It's such a joke. Like everybody's like, government run stuff because of how the government functions and how slow it is. And it's like legacy auto. They just don't innovate. They're not fast. They're not agile. They're like have to take forever to plan something out. And it's forever to carry out that plan. The pace of the way technology moves nowadays, by the time they come out with something, it was obsolete 3 years prior to them coming out with it. It's ridiculous. So, people who want to use the Electrify, that's the sad part is they want to try to get people converted over to EVs, renewable energy, but they're not making it a compelling product, as Elon puts it. If you want to disrupt technology, you have to have a compelling product. The government doesn't put out compelling products when it comes to things like this. It's just not there. So thank God Tesla is there. All right, let's check Twitter. Let's see what else we got going on in the news and what's happening. And so on Sunday morning for you guys, I will be doing a live stream. Not sure when I'm going to start it. The last few times deliveries have come out, it's been between like 11 and noon. So I may hop on and do like an 11 to 11:30 live stream start. I'll post it for you guys to see ahead of time, but somewhere around the 11 to 11:30 time Eastern time Sunday morning, I will hop on for a live stream and we'll do it. I thought about doing a post video, but being able to discuss it with you guys is so much more fun. Did retooling for Highland slow down Shanghai production? So if you remember earlier this year, Shanghai production, they spoke about how they weren't going to ramp it up anymore. They were basically going to stay steady where they were at around that 22,000 vehicles per week mark. And I think that's what they did. And it was partially because Berlin was ramping up so much and because of the demand being squashed globally for all vehicles just because of interest rates. There really wasn't a reason for them to ramp up anymore because they would be overproducing. And I think they were trying to balance out what do they do with pricing? What do they do with production of vehicles? They knew that they wanted to be around that 1.8 to 2 million vehicle delivery mark. They could produce enough. They knew that the other two factories between Berlin and Austin were going to be ramping up. They know all of these numbers. So pushing Shanghai to ramp even more, what didn't make any sense. And that then in turn allowed them to focus more on the Highland production and getting that up and running. So, and as Karav says here, expect the refresh July or early August. I agree. Same thing. I don't know if we're going to hear anything about them working on it when we get the delivery report, but I have no doubt we're going to hear about it at Q2 earnings. So I think Q2 earnings, we're probably going to end up hearing pretty good detail about Highland and a little bit more information about the Cybertruck. They'll probably come out with the Highland and discuss all of that. And then my guess is sometime in September, we're going to get the true information about the Cybertruck, and maybe the delivery event news will be coming out right around the time that they come out with Highland. So maybe early August, we'll get the Cybertruck delivery event, which might actually be in October. That's my guesses right now based upon the information we have. When FSD 12 comes out, I think Tesla will upgrade FSD to level 3. It's so weird because level 3 FSD is like an unnecessary level. So I'm going to bring it up here just to give you guys the definition. I don't want to screw it up. Um, FSD levels. So, you know what? I'll bring it up on the screen so you guys can read along. All right. So level 0, no automation, obviously. Level 1, hands-on shared control. Level 2, hands off. Level 3 is eyes off. So the way I'm looking at it for Tesla is, when you go to level 4 is mind off and level 5 is steering wheel optional. Level 4 and level 5 are truly going to be the levels. I mean, obviously Tesla's going right for level 5. So the whole eyes off thing, that comes down to the regulatory stuff because NHTSA is going to require you to still have that camera in your vehicle because you need to have your eyes on the road and everything like that. Still have to have the hand on the wheel. Because of regulations, I don't think that they will ever have a level 3 because if you're not if you're at level 3 we can have eyes off, then you might as well be at level 4 and have mind off. And then at that point, if they've been approved for level 4, level 3 makes no sense. So that's just my thought on that. Um, but perhaps as you're saying here, maybe that's the next step change for Tesla is to have a product that's level 3, even if regulatory approval doesn't allow them to do it that way. That could be the case. Yeah, excited for delivery numbers and a long weekend. Absolutely, yeah. I could definitely use it. I've been getting very frustrated at my job. It's hit and miss. It hasn't been bad. My guys are awesome. I love the guys I work with. It's really just my boss, honestly. Not a fan. But yeah, I took Monday off. I was actually supposed to go to New Hampshire and go hiking this weekend, but the weather's questionable. And I was like, you know what? I can spend $500, go hiking in New Hampshire, and maybe not even get to go hiking and basically sit in a hotel room for $500. Or I can stay at home. I can do a live stream with you guys. I can enjoy a whole lot of other things. I can see my friends and family. I can get workouts in. I can get my whole life wrapped up and put that $500 into Tesla stock on Monday. That's right. So that's kind of where I'm at in my thought process for the weekend. And I have goals to hit the 48 4,000 footers in New Hampshire, but I am in no huge rush to do it. And I can always dart up there on a weekend if need be. Rumor on Highland will have the new M3P battery from CATL. It is higher performance and same price as LFP. Is the M3P battery out? I knew that they were working on it. I didn't know it was released. It clearly makes sense for the compact car, the next gen vehicle when Tesla comes out with it. So that obviously makes sense for that. I just didn't know it would be ready for the Highland. Maybe it is, or maybe at least the production numbers that are running out on it right now are enough to suffice for the Model 3. But maybe it's just not enough for, they're gonna have to ramp that up significantly more for the compact car. And for you guys to get updated, looks like the Mexico factory pushed off slightly, but not a lot. Kind of like in line with what we've been thinking. Production will start end of 2024 and beginning of 2025. I thought we may be kind of getting ramping pushed up significantly more by 2025, but it sounds like it may be starting in 2025. So a little slower, but honestly, a quarter isn't really going to matter that much. FSD will not be beta, meaning Tesla will hold some responsibility. By skipping to level 4, it would hold Tesla at sole responsibility. Yeah, and it's tough with regulations. But even when you're eyes off, it's really eyes off and mind off because what is really the difference between eyes off and mind off? Because if you don't have to look at the road, then you're clearly going to be focused on something else and your mind is going to be off of that. So that's just my take on it. But I think that's where it's at. And, maybe when you get to the legalities of things, that's how the responsibility can be, is you don't need to have the camera in the vehicle anymore, so you don't have to have your eyes on the road, but you'd still be responsible because the human driver is still ultimately responsible for what's going on. So I guess that could play out, but does Tesla really want to have to play that battle? I don't know. Okay, they're out, but no mass production. That makes sense. So that would make sense if it's going into the Model 3 Highland. But now, if the Model 3 Highland is really truly replacing the Model 3 over in China, when you're looking at a breakdown of production, that's still a significant chunk of vehicles coming out of there. Um, so we'll see. Hi, Tim. What Volvo and Tesla partnership is about? Felipe, I have not heard anything official on that. I may have missed it, but I believe that partnership would also be the NACS, the North American Charging Standard for vehicles. So that, I believe, is what is going on with Volvo, because that seems to be what all of the partnerships are going on currently, is just that. Um, Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put this up here for you guys because, and Karav already responded to it, but a tweet from Elon kind of playing into what my thoughts were. Please advise people be wary of margin loans. Tesla has always been a high variability stock, often with no obvious rhyme or reason. We are confident about long term value creation, but not control the manic depressive nature of the stock market. So again, he has said this all year long. He has been discussing how, um, you know, with margins going up, the stock price can go all over the place. He is still expecting a recession. He's expecting deflation coming in. So he's been really warning a lot of people, everybody out there, of the price for Tesla stock in the near term may not reflect future value because of the macro environment being so uncertain. And the market is going to do some very uncertain things. So it can be very unpredictable. So when you go into margin loans, as we saw what happened last year, you see a lot of people going into margin because they're getting FOMO. The stock goes up, they're getting excited. Then all of a sudden we get all those margin calls coming in, and we see that domino effect go in the complete opposite direction. This is just Elon throwing it out there, knowing full well there's a lot of people that are on margin right now when it comes to Tesla stock. Please be careful. And for those of you who are not in margin, also please be careful and be wary of this. So if we see a massive pullback in the stock, it is going to be similar to last year. It is not a fundamental move. It has nothing to do with fundamentals. It has to do with near-term movements, a lot of margin, a lot of manipulation going on, forcing that to happen. So, as Black Jacket says here, Elon said that they were ready for hard times. The company is prepared. I have been reiterating this for the last year. I am preparing myself and my personal finances just like Tesla has prepared theirs. That's it. This is the company I invest most of my money in. I'm going to invest my money the way Tesla is investing theirs. So, not financial advice, but that is the advice I am taking from Tesla, and I'm doing it myself. No doubt sounds like an Irish tenor. Yeah. Yeah. Ian, good evening, Tim, from UK. Hoping for a great Q2 figures on Sunday and very confident that Elon will deliver. Wishing you and Oracles a great weekend. Wish you a great weekend as well. And just to joke a little bit, we are celebrating our independence from you guys this weekend. So thank you. And that allowed me to have a long weekend. So I appreciate that. And so, looking at Karav's response to Elon's tweet, delivery miss incoming. So, it's maybe Elon is trying to give us a little bit of a FYI. Maybe the numbers aren't going to be there this weekend. So Monday, you might see a bit of a pullback because the market's going to do what the market wants. But also remember, it's still growing the company. Even if it misses analyst estimates, still the company growing, and it's growing faster than anyone else. So take the realistic fundamental facts from this versus what people think the facts are supposed to be and go from there. So the company's growing, the stock will grow over time with it. It's just going to fluctuate significantly in the meantime. Oh, Raymond, very smart. I sold all my stocks bought on margin on today's rise and uncertainty on weekend. So again, everybody has different risk tolerances. If you're going to go into margin, hey, you do what you got to do. I just throw that warning out there for you guys, but some people do it wise. Some people are like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling very confident about this. I'm going to go into margin, but I'm not going to take chances as Raymond did. They're going to take it out and get themselves clear. So very wise, Raymond. I appreciate that. And hopefully others did the same. But seeing as the stock price was still going up today, maybe not. Cooking dinner. What you cooking? Oh, let me see here. Unstuffed cabbage and stuffed mushroom. That sounds delicious. My grandmother used to make stuffed cabbage all the time. I swear she just had a never-ending pot of stuffed cabbage going at all times. It was phenomenal. What do you want me to say again, Melissa? I said a lot of I said a lot of things. I do a lot of talking on here. I'm celebrating you took Biden with you. Touche, touche. You can have him back. No, thank you. My God. And it's not like I'm not a right winger either, folks. For those of you who don't know, I am very much in the middle. I'm very in line with what Elon's thoughts are when it comes to politics. Very much in the middle, and I was usually left of center, but I think center kind of shifted a little bit further to left. So I would say I'm more just right of center, just more because I'm fiscally conservative. So when it comes to finances, I like to be more conservative on that end. But socially, I'm liberal. So you do what you do you do you boo. I'm totally cool with that. Just don't force me to do it as well. I'm totally cool with that. Karab's final estimates: 475, 400 for production, and 449 for deliveries. Oh, nice. Okay, so you bumped up your delivery numbers. Cool. I like it. I like it. So again, right under that 450,000 vehicle mark, and it'll be close. Phil McMahon, I'm a little on margin and can meet a margin call if needed. Cool, cool, good, good, good. So no worries on that count. Great. And that's one of the things too. So the people who are wise going into margin have their backups and their buffers and they're good to go. So no issues there. It's the people who are really just, straight up gambling, going, the stock is never coming down. I want to make a fortune with this. I'm going to play the lottery, throw all of their money into margin, hoping they're going to hit big. Then they go upside down and then they owe more and they don't even have the money to cover that. That's where it gets extremely dangerous. Elon Musk is a genius. He should get the humanitarian award. Seriously should, but yeah, just the way things go. But it seems like there's more people warming up to him. So, with Mary Barra was a huge one coming on board. President Biden and actually acknowledging that Tesla exists was a big one. Yeah. Yeah. And as we're talking about, do you think maybe now Uncle Joe Biden will invite Elon Musk to the White House? His favorite friend. Oh man, I mean, Elon was part of some of the talks, but there's like, when it came to AI, why wasn't Elon there? When it comes to a lot of the EV stuff, why isn't Elon there? It's just, yeah, I don't know. Obviously, we know it's the UAW playing a huge role when you've got somebody controlling you because their hand is in your back pocket and even further up than your back pocket, reaching right up your butthole to control everything you say. You don't get what you want. Melissa locked in some profits today on some stocks just in case. Smart move. And it's a weird weekend. It's not like it's a long 3-day weekend. We've got the regular 2-day weekend, a short trading day off, and then a 3-day trading week. So it's a very weird week we've got going on this next week for trading for the market. So for me today, I had one of my CDs matured. It was $6,000. So I ended up taking 5,000 of that, rolled it into another CD at 5%. But I took 1,000 and kept it on the side. I have another $1,800 or $800 as well. So I've got $1,800 total. Just kind of holding on the side. So I have a few different things. Like I have cash ready for my normal stock. And then I've got my cash that I'm saving for buying a house, that I have most of it in CDs, but I now have $1,800 that I've been putting into the dividend ETFs because I'm getting a much larger return from those. But I want to be cautious because I am anticipating a pullback. I just don't know when. So I don't want to dump a ton of money into those and have those all pulled down. And yes, I'll get the dividends either way. That'll be great. But I can get more shares if it pulls down. And then if I'm upside down on the actual value of the ETF and it doesn't balance off to what I'm making on the dividends, then I really haven't made any money. So sure, I can wait longer and that'd be fine, but I just want to play that wise as well because at least with the CDs, I'm not going to lose any money. I'm just getting five to 5.25% depending on which CD I've got. But I want to like that's guaranteed money, and I want to leave it with that. And with inflation coming down now, that 5% is now giving me a better return than inflation, so I'm not losing the money. And yeah, people are arguing, well, you could have put all that money into Tesla stock or whatever other stock at the beginning of the year and doubled your money. And sure, I could have, but at the time, did we know it was going to happen? No, nobody knew back then. Some people took that gamble and they won, and good for you guys. But even the people who did that had no idea that it was actually going to happen. So again, I'm more on the conservative side of things. That's why I played it the way I played it. I play it for the long game, and I'm doing this for all cash flow generation. You don't think we just had the pullback? That was pretty extreme. I'm almost recovered from that, but now I'm learning to sell some things that bounce a lot. Which pullback are you talking about? I mean, last year was obviously a massive pullback. It was, but now we've seen a run up that almost kind of brought us back to where we were previously. We still have quite a ways to go, especially with Tesla stock, but we've got some companies out there. Apple hitting all time highs at the moment. We've got S&P hitting all time highs. We've got a lot of companies hitting 52-week and all time highs, which, by the way, if anybody remembers that live stream I did with Adam, when we look back at history and we see the Fed going up on interest rates, when they pause, the market rallies to all-time highs. At that point, we then see, it going up, and then we see the Fed pivot, or something causes the market to pull down, and that triggers the Fed to pivot. When that pivot happens, we're already starting that downward trend going to a massive crash. Just saying, historically, that is what has happened. We are now starting to see stocks in the market, some places in the market, hitting all-time highs. So just following history, I think the pullback, and historically the pullback, so we see a pullback, we see a run up to all-time highs, and then the next pullback is even deeper than the first one. So, seeing as Tesla hit that $100 mark, the last pullback, do we come down to 100? Do we come down further than 100? I don't know. Did Tesla overreact? So maybe it won't pull down as far. Lots of questions. Don't have the answers, but I'm ready for whatever happens. Raymond, I was worried the stock had risen so much that any meet expectation numbers will still result in a sell-off next Monday. It's actually a good point, Raymond. So, and that's part of why seeing this run going into the weekend, I'm like, is this the run up into the news? Like sell the rumor, buy the rumor, sell the news. Was this the buy the rumor thinking we're going to get good numbers and then we get to sell the news on Monday? That was my thought process as well, Raymond. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And it's surprising that we didn't really see much of a sell-off. And actually looking at, the daily, let me see if I can look at the hour chart. Yeah, I mean, we saw a little bit of a sell-off going into the end of the day today, which obviously, makes sense. You see that little bit of a sell-off going into the end of the day with a big candlestick here. I'll pop it up on the screen for you guys to see. So looking at the 5-minute chart here, we saw, 10 minutes before close or 5 minutes before close, massive green candlestick, and then a boom, big sell-off with heavy, heavy volume, at the last 5 minutes. That's telling me that, all right, a lot of these people are looking at, let's push it up, sell as much as we can. We sold at 263, bam, dropped it down because we're going into an uncertain weekend. That's all of you guys protecting yourselves. Cannot fault you for that whatsoever. Oh, last week. Yeah, it took a major hit. So last week was the rebalancing. So no, that was not a pullback. I mean, a pullback would be minimum correction, if not going into bear territory. So a correction is being down 20%. So no, we weren't even close to that. That was strictly just a rebalancing going on last week. So, I mean, you're looking at a correction pulling us down 20%, about close to that $200 mark. So, like looking at the charts and looking at any gaps that we've got here, that would be pulling us down. We definitely fill the 221 gap at that point. But again, we probably would get closer to that $200 mark for a correction. And then after that, it just gets worse. I have no idea what to expect for Q3 production and deliveries. I mean, I'm looking at. I mean, I haven't even heard any updates from weekly production for Austin or Berlin. Like last we heard was 5,000 from each. I'm assuming they're past that, but are they really? Knowing what Tesla is doing for production, trying to ramp things up with the Cybertruck possibly coming out. Who knows what numbers are going to have? I don't even know if they're going to have numbers of Cybertruck production that are even going to move the needle for production this year. Lots of uncertainty going on. But then, for the Highland shutdowns. So we know, so the rumor, if you guys remember back in late December, we heard the rumor was Shanghai was working on Project Highland, and we had Fremont was also working on Project Highland, and Fremont was slated to have it coming out in October of this year. And then it was right after we heard that rumor, Tom Ju ended up going over to California, and he went to Fremont and was walking the facility, and we're all like, well, duh, this makes sense. If they're doing it in Shanghai, he knows all about this. So he's probably eyeballing it and working out the logistics to get Highland up and running over in Fremont. So that could still very well be the case. And obviously now Tom got his promotion, as we had known. So that could very well be the case. And maybe we do get some Fremont shutdowns as well for Model 3 in the next couple of months to be able to have the Highland come out there. I still think Elon's an alien from another planet. And it makes sense that he would be because he keeps on saying, as far as he knows, there is no proof that there's aliens outside of our planet, no other humanoid life form. That sounds like an alien telling us that there is no other alien life form out there. Dominic, what's your price target for 2040? I don't have it out that far. My price target chart goes out 10 years, so it goes out to 2033 at the moment. End of this year, I'll bump it up to 2034. And when we get the numbers that come out this weekend, I will update my price targets. So as I mentioned to you guys the other day, I will put out to all my members and patrons, I will put out the price target, updated production and delivery numbers, my updated valuation model, my updated price targets for all of you guys this weekend. And then I'll do a full Tesla Air video about all of those price targets next weekend. Yeah, weird end of the day sell off. Wasn't as bad as you expected. So I think because there's so many people who are optimistic about what we're going to see for delivery numbers. So, like Rob says, he's feeling bullish. So if that's the case, it's obviously a coin flip. For me, it's very much like earnings. I think this is a coin flip. And as Raymond said before, what if we do hit expectations, but that was already priced in, and maybe we sell off because we met expectations, or what do we need to exceed expectations by in order for the market to move the needle the way they want it to? Don't know. More analysts believe this is a bull market turnaround and there may not be a recession this year. I'm hearing some of that, but then I also look at institutional money. And while we have seen good chunks of institutional money coming back into the market and into Tesla, there's trillions of dollars, still a very large amount of money sitting in bonds on the sidelines because they still think that we are going to be getting it and we're going to get a big pullback. Got a feeling this will be a sell the news event. Could be. We will see on Monday for sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will continue doing as good of a job as I can and trying to improve for you guys. Seems demand is building up. Some backlog. Tesla can produce more by adding more lines, but the bottleneck could be battery production. So I think right now, not to say it's a good thing for Tesla, with other areas where there's some bottlenecks going on with batteries and things like that, but maybe this whole inflation or interest rate hike going up and causing a global demand crunch for automobiles is maybe it's a blessing in disguise for Tesla because it allows them to kind of control a little more of the production that's going on, get a little supply built up in some other areas so there's no other things bottlenecking them. So they can kind of build things up, get their lithium factory up and running, and really kind of work on a lot of the other things they've got going on for the future. So maybe this is kind of giving them a little bit of an opportunity for that. Apple reached 3 trillion market cap, the first company to do so. I expect we'll see Tesla surge ahead of Apple in time. I agree. And it's funny when Elon had mentioned that he sees Tesla becoming more valuable than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined. He also made sure to throw in there he does not know what that value will be. If we get some sort of catastrophic economic crash that goes on, maybe, gosh, Apple's valuation comes down in half. It's worth 1.5 trillion at that point. Tesla comes, way down themselves. So at that point, if Apple kind of holds steady, but Tesla surges past them and Saudi Aramco, maybe Tesla hits $3 trillion market cap, and that is more than Saudi Aramco and Apple combined. Don't know. Obviously, we have only the future and patience to wait to see how that plays out. But either way, I think it's going to be phenomenal long term. 2040. I can't think that far into the future. I hope Tesla splits a bunch of times by then. So the hard part about 2040 for me is even going to 2033. My big question is, where is Optimus going to be at that point? Doing EVs, not a problem. They've already told us that they're looking at 20 million vehicles by 2030. I factored in just shy of that. I think I have 2031 or 2032 as them hitting 20 million. So, not that I don't have faith in Tesla doing it, but that's where I have them slated just to be conservative. Energy, we've seen that coming up. We've kind of seen that ramping. So I've factored in more of that. I kind of increase it every quarter as we get more information. So that plays into it. But where is FSD going to be? What are they actually going to be getting for revenue from FSD? We're hearing rumors now that Tesla's working on some things when it comes to Dojo and other stuff. Are we going to see a Tesla app store coming out? That was huge for Apple when they did it. So if Tesla has an app store, what is that going to generate for revenue? Then you get to Optimus. Optimus could be your humanoid version of, Alexa at home. Then all of a sudden you could be like, hey, Optimus, go buy me this or go shop for that or whatever it is using the Tesla's app store. This could be huge. And because of the fact that we don't have a lot of information and timing on that, so hard to predict. We get to 2040, Tesla could be worth 3 trillion, could be worth 10 trillion, could be worth 20 trillion, some people are thinking. So it's such a wide range of what's going out that far. But the way I look at it is whether it's 3 trillion, 10 trillion, or 20 trillion in 2040, I'm happy with any of them. I'm happy with even 3 trillion if that's the valuation we're going to have for Tesla in 2040. So I have no problems continuing to buy the stock up until that point. I think Tesla China is receiving about 9,000 Model Y orders per week. That's insane. Insane. Yeah, so many. When is dad going to be your guest on here? I will find out. I will chat with him and find out. I'll see. I'll have to check with his agent and see when he'd be available to come on. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, he and I were just chatting today because he's looking at Uber because it sounds like they're looking for it to go. Actually, I'm going to bring it up on here. Uber. I'll put it up on the screen. So my dad following a bunch of different things, saying that Uber should be getting to about 70. That's the rumors they're looking at it getting to 70. So significant upside at this point where it's at. And my thought with Uber is they obviously know autonomy is coming. So are they working on their own robotaxi fleets as well? Because they're clearly going to get disrupted by robotaxi fleets. How are they going to do this? If they require human drivers now, what do they do if human drivers aren't required anymore? So obviously this could be, maybe 5 years out before that happens, and you're still going to have that point where a lot of people may not be comfortable getting into a vehicle that is not driven by a human. So you're still going to have a need for human-driven taxi-type vehicles like an Uber. So I think they're going to be fine. But if there's rumors of going to 70, he's looking at that one again, have an entry point to get into it. But he also does the same thing as me. He's the one who got me into CDs. So I've been doing the CDs 1 month rollovers, and as soon as they come out with it, and again, if the Fed goes up on rates again, we might see 5.5% interest rates on CDs. So, but I will reach out to him and see about having him as a guest on here. This is great. My dad is awesome. My brother was doing a storytelling. My brother's an English teacher, and he was doing a storytelling segment. And my dad went on there when they were doing a bunch of the COVID stuff, and they were doing online classes, and he, was telling all the stories about when he was in the military. So it was really cool. Hey Tim, been watching you for a while. I'm gambling, hoping for good deliveries and maybe a continuation of the uptrend to make a little more money, hopefully to have more for the big pullback. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing myself. So not selling out on Tesla, but I just dwindled down on how much I'm in, on how much I'm adding to it. So it's just $15 a day right now, but I added the extra $15 from the other day from you guys from all the super thanks last month. So thank you all. And and so I'm doing the same. And then my other stocks have been thinning out. Like I sold out of my SoFi, I sold down a bit of Palantir, made some good profits on both of them. But I'm just holding that cash, and I want to get back into both. I still have 5 shares of Palantir, but I want to get back more into Palantir. I want to buy more into SoFi. I'm just waiting for that pullback. Um, but I don't want to fully gamble on a pullback just because you never know what's going to happen. Maybe we don't get it, and if we don't get it, then I've totally missed out. So at least by adding a little bit every day, I'm still in. Do you think the first robotaxi fleet trial will be managed by Tesla or in partner with someone like Uber? That's actually a good question. I think it really comes down to how it's rolled out, and if we're looking at it that way, I think what may end up happening is an FSD licensing agreement. So I was talking with Peggy about it when he was on here, and that is, let's say Tesla says, all right, FSD is going to a straight monthly package because as soon as when they do end up going that route when it comes to licensing out FSD, there won't be flat rates because these companies with a giant chunk of money will come out here and just pay like, all right, you want $15,000 per vehicle? Here you go. Not a big deal. Tesla will make a lot more money on it if they do a monthly service. So if Uber comes out and says, hey, we have 10,000 vehicles that we want to have in a fleet for robo taxis, Tesla will say, cool, that's $200 a month for each one of those vehicles. So Uber can run it that way. Now, when you're looking at like a legacy auto place who wants to license it out, they can either do it that way and have Tesla's FSD in there, or if they want to make profits on it, they can then resell it for, let's say, $250 or $300 so that they can make some profits. But when it comes to like an Uber like that, I think everything. I don't think Tesla's going to have their own. And the reason I don't is because of insurance and liability purposes. So I think what's going to end up happening is Tesla will allow and just license it out. So it would license it out to Uber, $200 a month per vehicle. Here you go. And then Uber then has to assume the responsibility for any accidents that happen based upon that. Obviously, if it's an FSD failure, they can then go to Tesla, but let's say it's in an accident with a human driver and it's not FSD's fault, Uber would have to take on that responsibility versus if it was a Tesla owned vehicle, then Tesla would have to be involved in that whole situation. I don't know if they would want that. I saw a car with an Uber and Lyft sticker on the windshield. I didn't know a driver could do both. Actually, I didn't know they could do both either. I mean, I don't know why they would do both. I don't know if they get different clientele, unless one was an Uber Eats strictly, and then they were doing Lyft as a driver. But I don't know. That is interesting. Did not know that was possible either. I don't see why you couldn't, except for you know because I can't remember because they just had the Uber had the whole thing where you're not an employee of theirs, so you're a subcontractor. Um, yeah, I don't know. Melissa, yes, this is the life. This is the life my dad lives, basically. Pretty good life. I work a little, trade stocks, um, and rest a lot. And my dad, he's a professional grandfather, which is awesome. One of my favorite job descriptions ever. So he's a professional grandfather, and then he trades stocks for fun. Good times. What else do we have? So my portfolio, so you guys know, and I'm trying. Maybe this weekend with a long weekend, I'll be able to do it. I've been trying to get it set up through Excel. I currently have it through Google Sheets, and I can't share it the same way as I can do it with Excel. So I'm trying to get it all simplified for all of you guys who are members and patrons so I can share my actual entire portfolio. I have no problem sharing that with you guys, but I can't even bring it up on here and show you because of the way it's set up. Well, I probably can, and I just don't have the knowledge to do it. But there's I've been making more and more passive income from the way I've been investing. So I started off with it was like $10 a month at the beginning of the year, and now I'm up to $150 a month in my main portfolio, about 150 in my IRA as well. So I continue to do more and more to get in that passive income. I mean, $150 a month just for having money invested passively that gets reinvested back into all of those to help me make more the next month. It's huge. It really really helps a lot. Jeanette, I have been trading Tesla stock since 2020, lost 500K till today, then added 11,000 today, which expired on my 275 strike options. Damn, that's a lot. Yeah. I don't have that kind of money in there, but playing the options is something I want to definitely get into. And yeah, my portfolio, because of obviously everything that happened last year, was red for the longest time. And I have now been green for the last 2 weeks in my entire portfolio. I've been green in Tesla since it crossed 221. Um, but see, patience paying off. Fun fact, it's been 921 days Tesla was at the same price. Wow. Wow. Now, Karav, does that include the splits? Because 921 days obviously is several years. So that must include the splits, I'm guessing. We are due for a breakout to a new price range. We are. And that's why, when we talk about Fed going to a pause and the stock market running to all time highs, how much more of that do we have to run? And as we've been talking about when it comes to the RSI, we were overbought, cooled off a bit. So if we consolidate, and I think we may see after delivery numbers, we may see a consolidation for a few weeks between delivery numbers and earnings on July 19th. And if that is the case, then we might end up getting a nice cool off in the RSI, which could allow for that breakout when it comes to earnings time. Totally possible. Do you think Tesla can move 15% on a good numbers delivery? If they're going to move 15%, I think that we would have to see numbers of like 455 to 460,000 deliveries. If we saw numbers like that, 15% is possible. If we saw like 475, like Karav's production numbers of 475, if we saw delivery numbers like that, yes, for sure. But I don't know. Has it removed 15% on good numbers? Not in one day, but we've definitely seen, just like we saw recently, we've seen 21-day runs where Tesla just goes on this massive run for 21 days, a couple of red days in between, but like can go up 30, 40% within a month. I mean, heck, we just saw it recently. So yeah, I think it's possible, but I don't know what numbers would have to be that good. The macro environment is still so uncertain right now, but who knows? Yeah, what's the most it's ever moved in one day? I don't know. I know Rob Maurer knows because he's got these things tracked. So I do not know. Inflation was transferred. And I'm sorry, I didn't even twinkle fart. I love your name. That is awesome. And just reading your name made me want to fart. Inflation wasn't transitory. Guys have the best names. Tesla 300 by end of year. So my thoughts, and again, I'm going to redo my price target this weekend. But looking at where the macro is, I think 300 is possible before the end of the year. It's just a matter of where is the macro environment timing going to be for Tesla. So whether it's end of the year or not, I do think we might end up testing that $314 level again before we get a pullback. Do we break that and go higher? Maybe. Don't know. So Raymond, last time moved like that was December 2021, where it was $100 pre-split from 1,100 to 1,200 in one day, I think. Yeah, and it was the S&P inclusion was the massive jump that we had seen as well, because all institutions who were in the S&P were required to buy, and so that's why you see a massive jump, and that's why that inclusion was a significant larger jump than we saw than when you got the credit rating upgrade to investment grade, because institutions don't have to buy at that point. It's just that at that point now they have the option to purchase it. So a lot of institutions can't even buy a stock unless it is investment grade. Now Tesla is investment grade for both Moody's and S&P. So because of that, institutions can buy it. Doesn't mean they have to buy it. But with the S&P inclusion, they had to buy it. Oh, here you go, Karav. September 8th, 2020, 21%. Was that down 21%? They dropped 21%. Oh yeah, because that was post split. Yeah. That was the post split sell off. Yeah, but again, we saw a huge, huge run up going into that split. So that run up into the split was because the Fed had dropped interest rates to zero. People were buying like crazy on margin for it because margin interest rates were almost zero. So you might as well. And then people just took a massive profits. But obviously that didn't matter at that point as you got further into the year and the S&P came in and just shot it right back up again. Let's see. Let's see what else we got going on over here. Um, reading some stuff about Dan O'Dowd and that guy, man. That guy. Yeah. Just don't get some people. Oh, yeah. And if you guys didn't see today, President Biden was trying to pass the student loan forgiveness and it got shot down. I'm very happy about that. Nothing against people who have student loans, but the problem is not in the fact that, people taking taxpayer dollars to pay off student loans to banks that caused that problem in the first place, to me, is unethical. If you have a problem where there's a lot of people who are swimming in student debt, which I was one of them, I didn't even use my degree, and it took me 21 years to pay off my student loans. And it's not other taxpayers' problem. It was the culture that we have here in the US of you have to go to college. So you're basically at a point where you can't get a business loan for $40,000, but you can get a $200,000 student loan to get a degree that might not even get you a job that can pay off that loan. It's a whole corrupt scam that is going on. So to force other taxpayers to come out and pay that back for these people, paying that money to the banks who were the problem in the first place, is unethical. It is the bank's problem. The banks should be the ones who have to do it. And we're not even stopping the bleeding. That's the bigger problem, is where are we stopping the problem from happening in the first place? We need to stop these banks from doing this. Then we can talk about the forgiveness, because otherwise you're just going to keep on going into the same exact cycle. You're going to continue to have students and people who get into these huge student debts. They're not going to be able to pay them off. And you're going to keep on having to take more taxpayer dollars to pay off these student loans. It's a broken cycle. We have to stop the bleeding. HK, I believe it could reach 400 by the end of this year. Again, we could. It is possible to push that high. Really just depends on the macro. There we go. May 19th, 2013, 24.4%. Thank you, Karav, my numbers man. Yes, big jump there. And of course, the stock price back then was significantly smaller, much smaller market cap, much easier to move the stock price. But yeah, and this is a bigger one. So Nvidia going up 25% in one day, but that's also why looking at, and I'll bring it back up onto the screen here, Nvidia, that's why you have this giant gap right here. This is that giant jump, 306 up to 366. That massive jump, this gap, I think will get filled. So I like Nvidia. My thoughts are this gap will get filled, but do we come down and fill this 210 gap? That's my other question. Because if we come down that far, knowing how high up it's gone, Nvidia's been running for a while. I mean, 108 was a low. Obviously, anybody who got into 108, October of last year, oh man, you are doing quite well. It's a 4x in less than a year. Was it 8 months? 8 months, 4x, bonkers. So good for you guys who got in on that. But I do think we're going to fill this gap. How far more down we come on it, I don't know. And I'll probably end up, if we come down to fill this gap, I may start a small dollar cost averaging into it and kind of see where the macro is going at that point. Yeah, Dan O'Clown, seriously. Tesla, I'm calling 470,000 deliveries. Oh, that's a big one. Look at China. Tesla always outpaces their deliveries. Yes and no, but if you look at delivery estimates and what they've actually come in at, they have missed expectations for the last few quarters. Um, so that I don't know. Like I've always been optimistic. People will give me crap for being optimistic, and some people give me crap for being too bearish. And I'm like, dude, I was like, I'm way higher than expectations. I like to keep it subdued, but even I have been too bullish. So I'm trying to get myself more subdued because it's not, it doesn't provide any benefit to anybody else watching if I'm super bullish and less realistic because I'm too bullish. So I try to figure it out and get better and become more realistic. So while I love a 470 number and would love to see that happen, I try to be more realistic. Ooh, this is good. Speaking of college, got great news. Lehigh's giving us $15,000 grant this semester. That's awesome. Um, that's cool. And with my son going to college um, in 2 years, I'm kind of at the same point. And I've kind of educated him, and I want him to make his own decisions. I don't want to make any decisions for him. I just want to give him fatherly wisdom and advice and let him make his own choice. But it's like the way I look at college now is my generation was probably the last generation where it was actually beneficial to go to college, and even if you didn't use your degree, I know that there were some jobs that I was able to get because I had a college degree. Even if it wasn't in that field, I still had that leg up on other people. Now, everybody seems to have a college degree. So it's not like you're going to have that leg up on somebody else because you can go and apply for a job. And if everybody else has a degree, that meant nothing to you. So that degree no longer holds that value in a job that may not be specific for that job, for your degree. So that's kind of my thought. So for him, I'm like, depending on what profession you want to go into, some you'll need the college degree. Having that higher education is great. I have no problems with higher education, but is it worth the value that you're paying? Sometimes going to a community college, you can get just as good of an education. I went to a state school. I went to Western Connecticut State. Pretty much all of my professors also taught at Yale. So if you do some deeper research and find out where your professors are teaching in other schools, say, hey, I wanted to go, to Yale. What professors are there and where else do they teach? I mean, if I had most of my professors teaching at Yale, I theoretically got a Yale education. Like, but I paid state school prices for it. And so for me, I thought that was great value. And I didn't find this out until afterwards, obviously, when I actually got in there and the professors told us where else they taught. Um, but now we're at a point where, is it really worth it? And the prices of college have obviously gone up significantly. But like my son wants to become a lawyer. So yes, becoming a lawyer, absolutely. That's a great go to college. There's other, he wanted to be an accountant as well. Accountant, go to college. But right now, think about the trades. There is such a demand for trades out there, and there's so few people going in because everybody was told you have to go to college. You go to get a trade, you go in to get a trade. First off, you probably don't even need a loan. You could just go in there and get to a trade school. And if you do get a loan, a lot of times the trade that you're going into will pay for that schooling. And then you can come out, and many a time you're going to be making more money right out of that school than you would have been making when you get a college degree. So weigh the options here, folks. And we need trades out there. Those are the ones who make the world turn. Yes, lawyers are, depending on which ones you are, there's a lot of scumbag lawyers out there, but some of those professions are good. Accountants, but an accountant can be, for professional purposes, but like you can do your own taxes, go do your own. You don't need an accountant for it. So go into trades. Trades can make some great money, and they're the ones who make the world turn. They're the ones who are building the roads, doing the whole electrical infrastructure for all of these EVs for Tesla. Um, but then Biden is now has a policy for no late penalty for missing repayment 1 year program till 2024. Yeah, maybe time for the election. Of course it is. He's going to do everything he possibly can because his whole entire speech today after it got shot down was, oh, look at what you're doing to all the people who are suffering and this and that and suffering. And oh, I'm going to play the heartstrings for all these people. Dude, go to the people who actually caused the problem. If you go back into history, Biden was actually the one who started this whole entire thing. He started all these banks. He allowed it to happen. And now he's at a point where he's trying to go the other way with it. Nah, dude. Sorry. Karav, life is good. Tesla hitting records. I'm hitting records at the gym. Dude, that's awesome. What are you doing in the gym? I actually just talked to one of our coworkers yesterday. He's doing programs from I'm a Beachbody coach, and he's doing programs from there. But there's one that I haven't done. It's called 645. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do afterwards because I'm already down 6 pounds in the last week and a half from the current program I just started. Very pleased with it. I'm really getting back to my old shape. I'm starting to see my old self. I'm very happy with that. And 645 is like a 13-week functional training program, which I want. And there's another program coming out on the 10th of July from the same trainer. So I'm going to see which one of the two I like more, and I'll hop onto one of those when I'm done. And that starts right after my next race. So if any of you guys are into health and fitness and working out and stuff like that, I'm a Beachbody coach. I can absolutely help. I've been doing that way longer than I've been investing. I have since I was 10 years old, I was lifting weights. So I've got 30 plus years of experience and wisdom of all of that stuff, nutrition, all of it. If you guys need help, I can absolutely help with that. And if you want to do an accountability group, I have a whole nother YouTube channel, Oracle Health and Fitness, where I do a daily vlog to keep myself and everybody else every single day just held accountable. So if you guys want it, absolutely feel free to join over there, and any members and patrons as well. So I kind of just lumped it all together. I think I could do a membership program for my other channel, for the health and fitness channel. I have a dad jokes channel too, Oracle Dad Jokes. You guys, I have 3 channels. I'm having a great time with all of them. But yeah, the health and fitness. Any members and patrons, it's part of my whole website thing too. My whole website is about investing in health and wealth. So I help everybody on both aspects. Wealth of knowledge. I can help any of you guys with any questions. Feel free to shoot them over. You can do it here, or I'm going to end up starting doing live streams on my health and fitness channel soon as well. And we'll kind of gear that more towards the health and fitness questions than doing it on here and kind of bouncing back and forth. Let's see here. Not sure how Wall Street is calling an increase in deliveries 448,000 with an EPS of 67 cents. So weird. Yeah, I know. So, I mean, their deliveries are right in line with most everybody else's. Like I've got a Troy test, like Carab is right around there at 449. So EPS, I don't know, and I don't know if that's going to change. We may end up seeing an EPS adjustment after we get deliveries. I don't know, and I think a lot of it has to do with their average selling price and what they think we're going to be seeing for margins, because they don't know cost of production. They don't know with the ramp going up, like have costs really come down. Elon's been talking about deflationary pressures when it comes to all the materials that they need for the vehicles. Have those costs really come down that much? We haven't even factored in logistical costs. With Shanghai not having to export as many vehicles, that is massive export costs that they're saving from not having to ship over because they have Berlin doing a lot of the deliveries. So there's a lot of unknowns, and I think that EPS number does not take a lot of that into account. I think they're still accounting for a much higher cost of goods sold than is reality. Oh, you look thinner on the live stream. Keep the beard trim. Yeah. So the beard, and I've had it for 6 years. I think I'm going to keep it right around this length. Is kind of where I'm happy with it. I'll trim it a little bit this weekend. But thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. And I've definitely been feeling it. Like when I go into the gym, in the locker room, I can see it. I don't have mirrors that I can see enough at home, but I can see my abs are back. So very happy about that. 420 push-ups a week. Raymond, funny thing. I've created my own workout programs numerous times. And one of my things that I used to do was 300 Thursdays, Spartan races that I do based upon Spartan 300, the movie. They would, I was like, oh, let me do 300 burpees on a Thursday. So I would just do 300 burpees, and I used to bang them out in a half an hour. It was ridiculous. It sucked. I was in so much pain for the rest of the day, but that was my routine, 300 burpees. So maybe what I'll do is I'll find a special day once I'm, back and feeling good again. I'll do a 420 burpee day, and I'll push out 420 burpees, maybe for earnings or something. I don't know. Or maybe if the stock price, there we go. When the stock price hits $420, you guys can mark it on your calendar and remind me of it, because I may forget. Stock price hits $420. I'm going to do 420 burpees that day. That'll be exciting. I'll be very happy about that. Here's my dad. Got all my exercise this month playing with 3 kids under 4. Good for a while. Absolutely, dad. That's awesome. And one of the things that anybody who's a parent or grandparent knows, what kids love the most is when you get down on the floor and play with them. And kudos to my dad and my mom who will get down on the floor and still play with their grandchildren. Absolutely awesome. Exercise your mind, Raymond. That's very important as well. That's one of the things that in a lot of the races that we would do, the Tough Mudders, they had a mind obstacle. And during one of the longer races, like 12 to 15 miles, somewhere around mile 3 or 4, they would have you do a memory test. And you've got to memorize. So you have your headband, the last 2 digits will denote what it is. And it's basically like a phone number, but it's got letters and numbers in it. You have to memorize that. And then by the time you get to mile 12, that's when they end up telling you and say, hey, what is the number? And by that time, you've forgotten that you even had to remember a number, let alone what the number is. I had never failed it, but that is an awesome way to train your mind as well, because when you're going and exerting yourself physically, you tend to lose track of what your mind needs to be doing as well. And you want to be able to stay focused mentally while you're challenging yourself physically. Very important to do. Crap, I love working out back. I hate working out legs, but still have to, yeah. Never skip leg day. Just like when you're looking at Tesla as a company, they take care of the foundation of the company first. The culture of the company is the foundation. That is it. You take care of that first. Your legs are your foundation. When you start getting into health and fitness and you start looking at the physiology of it all, trying to do pull-ups and push-ups, you can actually push more weight from your chest or your back if you have strong legs. It's because of the endorphins that are released while you are working out. So by doing all of it together, you can actually lift more weight with your upper body if you have a stronger lower body. So, yes, definitely keep working your legs out and just remember that your legs are your foundation. You will have a stronger body overall if you make sure you work out your legs. It's why, like, the workouts I'm doing right now, it's like every day is leg day. It's crazy. You exercise your fingers trading stocks. Super thumbs. PowerPoint Paladin. Wasn't there a huge hit last quarter due to dollar devaluation? We shouldn't have that this quarter. Um, there was, but we also have to remember that earlier this year, with the government pumping out more stimulus type money out there, the Fed had to print more money, which means that the money they were running off their balance sheet went back up, which is part of the reason why the stock market ran up as well. They still need to run all of that balance sheet off. And so last year, a big reason as to why we saw the market pull down as much as it did was just less money sloshing around in the market and the rates going up at the same time. So with less money available and less people wanting to borrow money because of interest rates going up, there was less people just buying lots of stuff. And we still have another round of that to come through. So, um, I think there's going to be a lot of different things coming in. I think there's still talks of the dollar getting devalued even more as the year plays out. And if that's the case, between the Fed raising interest rates more potentially, running off their balance sheet, and the dollar getting devalued even more, I think that could be a big reason why we see a big crash. Oh, thanks, Melissa. And so the other thing too, look at you guys saying hi to my dad. You guys are the best. Um, Another thing for me too is for my health and fitness channel on Monday. I don't record myself in the gym doing my workouts. I don't want to be that guy. But on Monday, I'm going to be at my old roommate's place, and they have a nice gym set up in their garage. So I'm going to do a full recording of all the different moves that I do for all of the different workouts in my program. So I'll be able to put all of those on there. So if you guys just want to follow the channel and say, hey, what moves are you doing? How can I put these together and do my own workout? I'll have it all on there so you guys can see that as well. David, I think tough delivery is going to be 465 to 470. You're the second one out there. So we'll see if we get that high. I think that's shooting for the stars. I would love to see it, and I think if we hit that number, that's where we could see a big jump. Dad, while driving on some well-maintained roads the other day, got to wondering about how self-driving navigates potholes and debris. So it sees it. So it will see what's out there and it will avoid it. There's cameras all over it, and it will avoid the potholes. It will avoid the debris. And as it's learning, because as it sees more debris and things like a flying bag across the street, it'll hesitate and make sure it's not an animal or a child, and then go, around whatever it needs to. So it's pretty smart. It's very intuitive and thinking about that. Um, and so we will see that coming. And I know 11.4.4, I think, is just starting to roll out. So I have not been in an FSD vehicle since before 11. So I have to go see my friend Tony. I actually go see my friend Tony in April, and I'll go see them, and they will. I'll take a drive out in their vehicle and see what FSD is looking like now. It's nice because it's like almost like once a year I've been able to go out with him to kind of get, all right, where is it at now a year later? And so I was like, I remember what it was last time. What's the progression this time, and where are we at? Oh gosh, we've been on for a while tonight. You guys have been awesome. I love you guys. But I am going to be darting off of here because it is getting later and I'm starting to get tired and hungry again. But we have more questions. So I'm going to keep going with you guys because you're the best. Are you going to live on the 4th or no? Um, going to go live on the 4th. What's the plan for next week? So yeah, I'll still go live. But I'll probably do it earlier because I'm off on the 4th. So what do you guys want? Because I know not all of you guys are from the US, so you're not going to be celebrating everywhere. And I know some of you guys don't get to come onto the live streams because you are in different parts of the world that it's super late at night right now. So if you guys want, maybe I'll do like a 4 p.m. Maybe I'll go live at 4:20. I'll do a 4:20 live stream on Independence Day. I think that's a good idea. What do you guys think? I think I'll do it. We'll go live at 4:20 on July 4th here. So this way more of you guys can get on as well. And we can do a little bit of a wrap up of what happened with deliveries, what happened with the stock price on Monday. Because on Monday we'll do a normal video, but I will definitely do we'll do a live stream on that Tuesday. So yeah, 4:20. That's it. We're making it happen. Thanks, Lang. You were awesome. Monday and Tuesday are public holidays. Yeah, well, for us, Tuesday is a public holiday. Monday is my holiday. I'm just for us because it was like a weekend. Then we had to go to work for a day, and then Tuesday was a day off. So I'm like, just give myself a 4-day weekend by taking one day off. And so that's what I decided to do. And I was supposed to go to New Hampshire, chose not to. But I'll spend it with you guys on Tuesday. Yeah. All right, folks, I'm going to get off now. I'm going to go sit down and chill out, relax for the evening, and get ready for all the stuff I got to do this weekend. But otherwise, you guys, awesome as always. Love you guys. Looking forward. Let's see what these delivery numbers look like on Sunday. I will be going live, like I said, between 11 and 11:30. I'll throw out the numbers either Saturday night or Sunday morning. I'll throw out the live stream link to you guys to let you know I'll be coming on and what time. But that would be it. So thank you guys. We will see you on Sunday.